Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. Back again to bring you Mythic Coven of the Shivarra. Everything you need to know about getting this boss down from a healer's point of view. For this fight, we did have 4 healers, and we stacked the deck with as many ranged players as we could. We sort of split up the room, as you're seeing, in half, where we had, about half the group on one side, half the group on the other, sort of kind of dedicated towards positioning on that angle. This kind of reduces the amount of mechanics that are going to be gravitating towards one side. And if you have, for example, too many people on one side, it's going to make it very difficult for you all to kind of sit comfortably in any of the safe zones for the storms that are going to be coming up, and make it a little bit more crowded overall to deal with. So you're going to be having the fulminating pulses that are going to be going out in triplicates. Important thing to keep in mind here is that the AoE damage from the radius does not actually go out until the event expires. The ticking damage does not deal damage in an AoE radius at all. The only damage that it'll deal is ticking on the single target until the event expires, and then it's AoE in that circle, right? This is very important to keep in mind in case you get the fulminating pulses while you're in a safe zone hiding from a storm, right? If that occurs, sit there. You can be standing on everybody until the event expires, and you need to make sure you're away from them at that point, right? It does deal about 50-60% of your HP in damage, so it's very important to get those people topped off, maybe add a little shielding if at all possible, to ensure that they're going to be able to survive from it. You will be having the Shadow Blades, same as usual. Very important to be watching the timer of that, and the Whirling Sabers that are going to be going out. Those events don't exactly deal tons of damage by themselves, but they are very, very easy to get indirect deaths from both of those things. Mainly from hiding from a storm of darkness, where you might be getting hit by a Shadow Blade, knocked out of the storm, and the ticking damage from the storm will be the thing that's killing you, right? So keeping an eye on your positioning, always keeping an eye on both Coven at the same time, if at all possible, is going to be extremely, extremely important here. Again, as you're seeing with the fulminating pulses, they're going out right in the middle of a storm, and there's 3 seconds left for people to get out after the storm ends. So keeping an eye on your debuffs there, and making sure that hey, I have a little bit of time at my disposal to be able to get out of the group before this really happens. The flyer phase, more or less the same. Watch your positioning, watch the flames that are coming out. And this is basically going to have a situation where you're going to be kind of off to the side anyway to deal with the storm, so just making sure that you're kind of clearing the areas whenever possible. As a healer, I usually try to add in, as disc you can add in a little bit of damage and things like that, but it's always important just to make sure that you're not wasting any like penance ticks or things like that by hitting a target that's about to be dying, right? So keep that in mind there. When we're getting, for example, our Amantul ads coming out, or sorry, our Norgon ads coming out, right here, a big focus is going to be on positioning, and it's making sure that you are getting as many CCs out as possible, getting things rooted, and making sure that you're able to sit in your safe zones safely without interruption and without any of the guys walking all over you. So we had a bunch of druids. We were able to get lots of mass entanglements out. On progression, this is actually a perfect CC chain that we were able to pull off here, but on progression we had a lot of messy moments where Shining Force came in handy and made life so much easier to be able to handle those ads, knock them back, give yourself a little bit of breathing room, and be able to sit comfortably in the safe zones that you're having there. The Torment of Golganeth just went out, and we're getting another Coven coming out here. Very important to watch your positioning here, and this is also a storm that you really want to make sure that you have personals ready, raid cooldowns ready, because you need to be moving into the Storm of Darkness without touching other players. So this may involve you just standing still for long periods of time and waiting for people to move out of your way so that you're able to get in as well, right? So right there, for example, I made sure I hit a Light's Wrath just before it went out, just to ensure that we were going to be topped off as much as we could. And the Warlock was standing behind me, waiting for me to get in. I got in, and then he soon followed right behind me, right? Going into this next phase, you're going to be having the Chill Bloods. Again, it's going to be, like I said, same thing from a Heroic. It's extremely, extremely important to be able to get on top of these absorption amounts, get people topped off, make sure people are not being stunned at all by these things, because again, the mechanics just get deadlier and deadlier as they are going out here. You're going to be having the Mythic mechanic here, which is going to be a Slicer, which is going to go out from the new Fell Coven ad. So it's going to target 2 players, and the 2 players are basically going to draw a straight line and cut through anybody else on their way there. It's extremely, extremely important with this Cosmic Glare is the name of the mechanic. You ensure that you're watching the positioning of those people, watching the direction that the glare is going to be running through, and ensuring that those people are already topped off, again, usually above 50%, and able to be healing through it. It's very, very easy for those mechanics to be able to hit multiple people all at once. So keep an eye on this, keep an eye on the positioning, and try to call out as best as you can as to where it's really going to be going. At this point in time, this is really where you start getting into the straight burn, where you have to be dealing with the chilled bloods, you have to be dealing with all of the torments of the ads and torments of the titans and things like that, but you're not going to be having to deal with any of the storms for a while, or you won't be having to deal with the storms at all. So this opportunity here, a lot of it is making sure you're pacing out your mana, pacing out your cooldowns in order to deal with the chilled blood, in order to still deal with it with the Titans mechanics here, while also making sure that, you know, your positioning is fine, you're still watching out for any of the mechanics that are going to be going out same as usual. This is going to be the part where you're trying to make sure that everyone's staying topped off and nobody's having any kind of like little silly deaths, because with this fight, it's extremely easy, and again, it kind of reminds me of Paragons of the Claxi, where there's a lot of little things that can really lead to your death, and it's not necessarily one large mechanical failure or another here. It's a combined, you know, kind of constant effort where people will kind of get picked off one by one, and you're not going to be able to get the boss down because you just lose too many DPSers, or you just don't have enough healers up or something like that, or a tank dies, and then the two Coven get merged together, and they take no damage, and then it just kind of becomes a big issue. With the Cosmic Glare here, you're seeing, you know, I try to stand as still as possible, just to make sure that everyone knows, okay, it's going to be coming from this direction, going to this person. Everyone else can be able to steer clear of that. They don't have to worry, and it's a lot easier than picking designated areas as to where you want the burst to go. It does rely on everyone else kind of watching out for what's going on here. For me, you know, I saw it was going to be just behind me, so I was able to, you know, sit tight, still get some atonements out and stuff like that before the Coven switch happened up again here. As you're seeing, our positioning is very sharp for dealing with the Torment of Golganath, making sure we're spread out. And again, you're getting the Whirling Saber back at this point, so you have to be very certain that the positioning that you're moving from to get away from it is going to be making sure you're not crossing paths with anybody else. You know, many of our deaths, many of the issues that we had on a fight like this is just making sure people don't get picked off. And as you're seeing, healer mana does get pretty tight in this last burn phase, but not having to deal with the storm gives you such a huge benefit that you're not really getting put in awkward positions, I guess is the best way to say it. And this is kind of the last awkward position that you're seeing here, having Cosmic Glare going out at the very end of a Torment of Golganath. This is causing you to have to move very quickly away from the glare, so you're not going to be cleaved by the glare, while also getting all these ads down here. So at this point, with the Torment of Aman'Thul going out, it's just a straight burn, you know, using whatever mana resources that you have left, using any kind of cooldowns that you have left to make sure people are getting topped off, keeping everybody alive, keeping them alive through any of the pulses here, and of course, getting the boss down. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys, dealing with it from a healer point of view. We had, give or take, about 20-25 wipes on this boss, and it really kind of compounds more and more reasons, you know, to be watching your feed, watching out for other players, making sure, you know, DPSers are just focusing any of the Torment ads down as rapidly as possible. And in a lot of ways, it's just kind of an attrition fight. You just need to keep on surviving, keep on watching your feed over the course of this. And then that was one thing where, over the course of the fight, it was, you know, a big focus for me, making sure I'm watching out for those things and able to kind of get the boss fight down from there. So, hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all next time.